So if you had a friend visiting and they're just going to spend time in downtown for like 2 or 3 days, what are some of the hits? Where would you send them to?
I mean, it's weird because like once I moved out of here, and even when I was living here, like I didn't hang out in the places that were right next to my house. Like the restaurants closest to my house, I'm like, what restaurants? Because like everything is so overpriced in Soho and kind of always has been. But I do think that Green Street, the street I grew up on, is just beautiful. Like it really is stunning. It really looks like Europe. And just walking around Soho as a historical district, which is not permitted to put in like neon signs or anything flashing, that it truly is like stuck in time in its facades. And that's like a vision of old New York. So highly recommend that. And then definitely just journeying to St. Mark's Place, because as much as things are changing around it, like it's still kind of gritty and gross and cool. And you can just have so many types of food there. Like any type of food under the sun you can find in like that part of the village. I love Washington Square Park just because it's so iconic, but then so peaceful at the same time, and then not peaceful at all at other times. So it's like a real toss-up there. And Union Square and that area, just because it has been like so filmed, and that's really a place where if you don't know what you want to do with your day, if you just sit in Union Square long enough, like you'll figure it out. Like you will go on an adventure based on something you see there or hear there or catch a whiff of or see a farmer's market. Like it's wherever you want to go from that place. Specifically, let me think if there's anything that I would really vouch for downtown. I mean, I always liked walking to like Battery Park and stuff. Like that was kind of a far walk that was through a weird neighborhood, like financial district, where it's just like, just get through it. There's water at the end. And you just open, because it's strange in that neighborhood. And because of 9/11, like, I don't know about, like anyone who grew up downtown is not like super psyched to go to that area, but then you're past it, and then there's just like the view of the Statue of Liberty and like this fresh oceany air that you don't really get on either sides of the river. But downtown, you like catch an ocean spray, and it's like you just look out on the ocean, and it's like that's lovely. What
was the park that passed under the bridges like when you were growing up, like the Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and Manhattan
those
bridges?
parks?
Yeah, like that. Was that developed yet, or was it kind of?
I'm not sure. I don't really think I spent much time in that area because that was pretty far over. And even currently, that neighborhood hasn't really changed that much, that it can still be kind of unsafe at night. But I think that that's like where we would play soccer on the weekends with like our downtown league, is because there were sports fields there. So I think my sister, who was more into soccer and therefore a more serious player, her teams would play there, but I think I probably only just played a few games, but that wasn't really like a locale of my own. We did hold down Thompson Street Playground, which was a public park. It's since been renovated, but it used to have an above ground pool in the middle of Soho. And that was so weird. And like not a Soho House pool, like a really gross backyard style above ground pool that was public to the city. And me and all these neighborhood kids would go there, not kids from school, but kids who lived in the area. And it was this great generational situation of like kids my age, kids younger than me, and kids older than me that would all be together. So in that way, it always felt safe, even if it was just a few people there, because like the older kids would look out for the younger ones. And like no one's hassling the teenagers because they were like big guys who went to Francis Xavier High School. Like they played like lacrosse and stuff. Yeah.
But they all knew you. You were like the younger
kids,
siblings or something. Yeah,
the Strautmanis people were definitely known. Too many. You couldn't not see us.
A hardy clan. Where or would your parents take all of you if you were to go out to eat? Like, what was a family-friendly food
so
location?
That like never happened because it was so expensive. But there was this, it's not there anymore, but there was this amazing barbecue place on the corner of Wooster and Spring across the street from Chanel that is now a Crocs store, and it was called it was called Tennessee Mountain. And the streets of Soho would smell like barbecue sauce because like it's a pretty empty neighborhood early in the morning and late at night because of the tourism, and it would smell like barbecue and smoked meat. And like once a year we'd go there and just splurge on like ribs and like chicken, and we'd all eat there. And that was one like big formal occasion. But we'd go to dim sum a lot. because we can all just inhale shrimp dumplings for half an hour, and then the bill comes and it's like $24.
Right, and you have the big like circular tables.
Yeah, so we could always be seated. It was always immediate, which when you're dealing with 6 children, it's like, feed them right now, please. Right. And they would. The carts would just come up and we could unload them and everyone was happy and everyone could pick what they liked, which was something we couldn't really do at home, was we were all eating the same things, but we all had such different tastes that at dim sum it was like meatballs for Claire, shrimp dumplings for Alexa, chicken feet for Max if he's adventurous, or chicken feet for Claire, meatballs for Max.
Whoa.
If they watch this, I need to get that right.
Yeah, I feel like whoever eats the chicken feet wants to be known as the person that eats the chicken feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
That totally is one of the best experiences I can imagine for kids, where it's just like you get to pick whatever you want,
right?
You know,
and you point and then they give it to you, which is not how restaurants work.
No, and it's not usually how it would work at home, or like it's not polite, really, in like the culture that you're probably in most of the time.
Yeah, I would recommend dim sum to someone visiting downtown, and also just like bouncing around those neighborhoods that are so sidled up next to each other, like so close to my house. It's like you're in the biggest retailer area for like these giant designer stores, and then you go 2 blocks over and it's like Cannoli Avenue with just like pizza places everywhere, and then across the street from that is like OTB places and dim sum houses and stuff, like, and like teas and stuff, and then all these like street fair things going on, like the street fair that happens downtown is the Feast of San Gennaro, and that was all like, that was a bittersweet street fair because it's like it's the end of summer, but oh my God, the feast is here, and it's just like we would all be like given like $10 to go and play games or do whatever we want with it, and so like someone would try to win goldfish, and someone would just be like, I'm gonna spend it on food, and it was so fun. It's such a staple of New York City, and it just, the smells are so familiar. Like even now, when usually in normal years when a street fair goes on, it's like, do we want to go to Gennaro this year just to like, mosey around, because the games aren't as interesting and they're just out for money, but you just want to be there to be in the crowd. So this year might be different, but like the Feast of San Gennaro was just like such a staple of school supply season and the last hurrah of summer, really.
Yeah. It's so nice to hear you talk about some of these things that like, they're these classic things that I, as a non-native New Yorker, am almost like embarrassed to say that I enjoy, because it's almost like touristy or like cliche or something, like the Feast of San Gennaro is like, it is so fun.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I almost don't feel like I can promote it, because then like a native New Yorker will be like, well, that but you're a native New Yorker. And it's so nice to hear you say like, that is, because it really is fun.
Yeah, and like as a kid, it's so exciting. It was like the carnival coming to town, literally.
Right.
And it was really funny after 9/11. It was hilarious. But there was this guy who was in the dunk tank, and he was the clown, and he would hurl horrible insults at you to egg you on, to get you to dunk him. And he was a 9/11 first responder. And you knew this, and you still wanted to dunk the shit out of this guy because like he was just so mean. And it was just this kind of thing that continued on at the feast. Like when I don't know if it's still him, but I remember seeing him, the same guy, every year and being like, I know he's a hero, but like fuck that guy.
That's amazing.
But that means he's a good performer too.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could never dunk him. It was so far. It was a game for like older, like for the dads to do, to impress their wives or girlfriends or whatever. And like as a tomboy kid, I'd be like, meh, and it'd like airball.
Yeah.